See my hair.
What's up, everybody? Hey, this is the Gens, our authentic selves, and we're out here digging it. Everybody here on the panel is looking great. As opposed to me, I'm out here just in the streets. I don't know. But they forgive me, I hope. Look, today and this plays to it. We're talking about being over ambitious. Over ambitious. So are you out in the streets somewhere when you should be focusing on something very specific, or are you stretched too thin? Are you being told things that you're all over the place? Are you being a little bit too over ambitious with things, or does over ambition even exist? That's what we're going to dive into today. So look, I got my wonderful panel here, and look, because I'm out here in the streets, I'm going to be in and out, but we're going to be doing some things. So who wants to kind of kick off the conversation with just what is it to be over ambitious? What is it to be over ambitious for you?
I like the question, and what's funny is, there's I guess the slang is, you're doing too much. We always be talking about, somebody you're doing too much. And being over ambitious, like it almost is like an oxymoron. It's like how ambitious, you want to be, you want to do some great things, but then you over ambitious, it's just like, that's doing too much. But so I guess what's the happy medium, or is there a happy medium? I guess for me, if I had to define it, I would just say that, and I guess another term is, you got too much on your plate. Like it's just way too much. You got stuff spilling over. It's like you trying to be here, you trying to be there, you trying to be everywhere. And it's just like, are you doing too much? Or are you just kind of being in a space where it's like, oh, I can handle it. I could, manage it. I think, y'all might say multitasking, you know what I'm saying? So is doing too much, is that a thing? I know, because the ladies always say, yo, Hans, you can only focus on one thing at a time. And y'all be like, y'all can multitask, y'all can do 10 things and still make everything look right. So I guess I'm gonna kick it out. Like, what do y'all think?
I am personally, I'm kind of torn on like, is there such thing as being over ambitious? And it's just because like it's something that I'm trying to define myself, right? Because
Mhm.
I have a lot of goals. I've talked about it on the podcast before. Like my ultimate goal is to be able to like give back, right? To provide for people and to do a lot of things. But then also I want a lot of things for myself, right? So maybe that's like, being wealthy, like being able to provide, again, being able to give back. So me, I'm just like, well, I'm an esthetician and I'm also, I don't know, like a project manager. And I'm also trying to figure out how to get my tequila business running. And I'm also figuring out how to, like do this, that, and the third. And so, like, in some conversations, and depending on who you talk to, I do feel like people will say that, like, I'm being over ambitious because it's like,
Mhm.
if you, it's like, how do you define what you're doing right now? Right? Because you're doing all this, like, you can say you're an intern, like, again, you can say that you're doing all these things, but it's like, one, are these things like successful? Like, are you believing in them? Are you just like doing it because it's something that you're interested in now? And it's like, the new shiny object and you might toss it
Mhm.
away. So, like, depending on who you're talking to, like, there is a such thing as over ambition. And I kind of like identified myself with that for a little bit, but I did a little bit more digging and I was actually like studying this topic a little bit before we started. And so I'm just like, no, I'm not actually over ambitious. Like, I do know that the things that I'm like focusing on, even though like it may be, more than one thing, I do know that like they're gonna bear fruit. Like those trees are gonna bear fruit because I'm saving the seed. And
Mhm.
so I'm just trying to figure out and like I guess navigate like what's most important like
Mhm.
in that, if that makes sense.
Nah, that makes perfect sense. And what's interesting, as I hear you talk, I'm reminded. I remember when I was a little younger, they used to always say you need to focus on one thing, or they would be like, you're basically a jack of all trades, a master of none. And so that used to be like a negative connotation. Like it used to be like almost like an insult, almost, because it's
Mm.
like you can't focus on just that one main thing, but now you're trying to put your hat in so many other things. But as we kind of, evolved, it is 2024. You can't just do one thing anymore, whether it be, to make money, whether it just be to, just put yourself in a space where you can learn more. You can't just focus on just one thing, so to say. So I'm gonna kick it over to you, Marcia, because I feel like you got something to say. Because you keep giving me that look, so I'm like, wait a minute, you're not gonna kill me with the looks tonight. But how do you feel? Because I know you're familiar. Not to make fun or anything like that, but I know you're familiar with the term. What I'm saying, jack of all trades. I'm saying, master of none. But how do you see that today, though? Or in just like Kelly kind of defined, are you in the space of being overly ambitious?
So there's a couple of things that made me, when I was younger, my grandmother used to tell me I was too opinionated. Now I know y'all are my friends and y'all know I'm not too opinionated at all. But but I used to get upset about the two part. So I'm gonna kick that to this part. Like I can be opinionated, but why do I have to be too opinionated? So I can be ambitious, but why do I have to be overly ambitious? Like, let's think about that a little bit. But that jack of all trades, master of none is like a compliment. But I'm gonna throw this out there. Is Oprah overly ambitious? Is Mark Zuckerberg overly ambitious? Is Shaquille O'Neal, one of my favorite people, the boss? Are they overly ambitious or can they just be ambitious? Right? Rick Ross is the boss, just in case anybody was confused about that. That's because I know there was another boss. But so when I think that, and I think that if God puts it in your mind and in your heart to do, then you're supposed to do it. So I think part of it is just figuring out how to do it and when to do it. And we talked a little bit about scheduling before and like 90-day focus, how to do that. I don't think that, and I don't think you can be overly ambitious. I think that ambition can just propel you in the direction that you need to go at that particular time, and then like schedule it out. Like right now I'm in Q2, so I have a different focus than I was in Q1 because I've gotten to a good place in Q1, so now I can piggyback the next thing that I'm doing on top of that.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, so is this more, I guess more or less the semantics of it all? Because we praise people who are ambitious, and you gave some great examples of people who are ambitious. Oprah, she's definitely ambitious. You know what I'm saying? She's done everything: movies, television, et cetera, billionaire, very, very accomplished. Shaq, of course, he's definitely a person who has his hat in a lot of things. He DJs, he's been wrestling,
He's a police officer.
Right. So it's like, so so on one hand, it's just like, wow, you're following every dream you ever thought imagined. But Kyra, I want to hear from you. I want to kind of hear you kind of and your take. Like, does being overly ambitious, is it a thing, or is it something that we sometimes look at other people and be like, they're doing too much, or am I not doing enough? Because that's also a thing.
I think it's a label that comes from other people. When you look at the people that Marcia just named, they actually accomplish the things that they set out to do. So people are not labeling them as overly ambitious because they did it. When they're watching you attempt to do it, they call you overly ambitious because they feel like you didn't make it or you didn't hit the mark. So they throw that label on you. But I don't think it's true necessarily, to say you're overly ambitious, that you don't know if you can make it unless you try. So you have to try. Now we do have to learn order, learn how to prioritize things because some people, definitely may overly commit themselves to things, and then when you're not showing up, then that causes the problem. If you say, oh, you're quick to volunteer to do this and do that and do this and then you can't, you don't produce, then that becomes a problem. So people may definitely call you overly ambitious when that's the results that you're putting out there. So you have to be careful about that part. But I think it's great to have all these goals, but you do have to be careful just how you go about it.
I love that. And I'm gonna touch on something that you just said. Overly commit. Like that right there, like that right there, I can understand. I could grasp that because a lot of the times, and I think we might even talked about this on one of our calls where we just like understanding the value of your yes, right? Or even understanding the value of your no. So it's like you say yes to everything. You know what I'm saying? You can definitely overcommit, and you could say that again.
She's raising her hand.
I got you. I got you. You know, it's like definitely when you overcommit, it's like you put yourself in that space where you hear people say, "I'm being stretched too thin." You know, I got so much going on, and I feel like sometimes this may bring about the feeling of just being overwhelmed and just having so much going on. And I guess even when people say that, is it a matter of managing what you got going on, or are you being overly ambitious? And I feel like it's safe to say that being ambitious is a great thing. You want yourself to be ambitious. You don't want to just stand still and not grow. So in order for you to grow, you got to have some ambition. But I like what you also said about just a label, because we are in a time where there's labels for everything. You got to put everything in a box. So I guess the question for everybody is, how do we break out of that box, and how do we kind of get rid of that notion that says that overly ambitious, or do we have to get out of that box?
Let me chime in real quick. So I know I'm supposed to be on camera, and I will be in a second, but this is such a hot topic, and you're scratching the itch of mine. I really feel like, the title, the verbiage over ambitious is a label that losers use, right? And I say that because who really says to themselves, I'm overly ambitious, right? Like who says that? No one does. You'll say that you're ambitious. That's a label from other people because they can't see themselves doing what you do, right? And they want to pull you down back into that pot that they in, as you trying to become something, but to become more, to do more with your life. This is a label that others will use to kind of make themselves feel better about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not willing to put in the work that you're willing to put in. That's a little bit of the way that I've really looked at it throughout, my life. The things that I've done, and seeing, people that will seemingly chastise me for doing what I do. Like, you're doing too much. But it's all just to kind of make themselves feel a little bit better about how they're living their life.
I'm
That's
over
definitely
here
a
in the
great point.
cheerleading section if y'all synced me,
Yeah.
because that's what I was going to say. Because if you tell me I'm overly ambitious, I'm going to be like, are you ambitious? Like, why are you asking me about what I'm doing? Mind your business is what you need to say when they say you overly ambitious. Mind your business. It almost rhymes. That's a
Mhm.
bar, I think.
So, would you say that a person needs to be qualified to make that statement that you could be overly ambitious, meaning that they needed to have had some accomplishments themselves so that they can actually be the one to define? Just based off your
Absolutely.
statement. I'm sorry?
Yeah, don't ask unqualified people how to qualify you. I can't ask nobody who's a hundredaire how to be a millionaire. They don't know.
Mhm.
They're gonna tell me I'm trying to be overly ambitious. Well, you stay in that hundredaire area. I'm gonna go holler at another person. I 100%. And also you gotta be careful who you tell what you doing, because everybody ain't for you.
Mhm.
And if they not for you, then they against you. And as you are manifesting and talking and say what you seek until you seek what you say, they're gonna
Mhm.
be saying the opposite. Remember Medea said, I'm gonna pray the prayer opposite of your prayer.
Not Medea though.
I'm
Nah, that definitely makes the point. And
I mean, so with
uh,
what you said was, is does someone need to be qualified in order to tell you that you're overly ambitious? I mean, yeah, absolutely, 100%. I'm not listening to anyone that that hasn't done the things that I want to do. But at the same time, we we're all meant to do something special in ourselves, right? We're all delivered here to deliver something. That means that at some point or another, you're gonna have to be the eagle where you gotta fly alone, and no one can tell you what it is, right? Only you and your creator can have that conversation. I'm not gonna say everything, but there'll be something in your life that there's no one that's qualified, regardless if it's Bill Gates, your mother, the president, like the United Nations, or anyone, because only you can bring this particular thing to life, right? So I kind of definitely listen to the right people, but at the same time, sometimes you might have to be alone, and that's gonna be risky. But are you willing to have the faith to rely on that, right?
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. And Marcia was talking earlier, and she brought up Mark Zuckerberg, right? And so, of course, that's the guy who did Facebook. And so, it's like you have to be overly ambitious to bring new things out into the world. Just speaking to your point, CJ. Whereas, if people weren't, overly ambitious, we don't have electricity, we don't have the light bulb, we don't have these basic things. Well, not even say basic. Well, yeah, basic things that we need. Whereas we actually can make our life a little bit more convenient. And so overly ambitious people. And so people always say, you want to do something great, solve a problem, right? And so sometimes people had to solve the problem of it's dark. It's nighttime. We still want to be able to read. We still want to be able to do things. So first it was fire, then it was electricity, and so forth and so forth, to whereas we evolved to where we're at today. So I guess it might be safe to say that we can go ahead and just throw that label of overly ambitious out the window. You know what I'm saying? And I would just say that we need to just shoot for our dreams and continue putting in the work, right? Because if we don't put in the work, then how do we get anything to be brought to fruition, if you will?
Yeah. So do you think, and this question might be answered, but do you think that like while there isn't, while you can't be overly ambitious, while you can't have, too many good ideas or whatever, like, do you think that you have to kind of like focus in on one thing and then make that successful and then move on to the next thing? Or do you feel like you can do like, maybe one, two, and three, but like maybe with good time management or maybe with the right type of, conversations or motivation? Like, what do you need to be in that position where it's like, yeah, I'm doing, two or three things at once, but like maybe I'm not feeling overwhelmed. I'm not, not that I'm taking the label of over ambitious, but like I'm not even feeling like that. Or like maybe I'm doing too much. What if that's a label I'm giving myself?
Mm.
I think it kind of depends on your support system. That will kind of help determine how much you can do at one time or how many things you can go after simultaneously. Because I know this lady, she has wonderful ideas for businesses, but okay, so you start one, you jump on that, and then before it can get in a good place, you start the next one. And then that one is kind of left hanging. Then if you keep doing that, that's such a bad track record. So, and then people will throw that label on you. So you do have to figure things out as you go. And if you have a good support system, then you can put your foot in this, get it to a certain level and walk away because you have a team that's handling that. And then you start the next thing, it just depends on the timing, and timing is very important for this kind of stuff. So
let me ask Kyra, because in your friend who starts a business and then stops it, what could be seen as too early. So is it one of those, because I've been guilty of certain things, so that's why I'm saying I'm not trying to put your friend on and throw your friend under the bus, but like I'll start something, and then in the past I've started something, I'll be like, oh, this is gonna be great, this is gonna be fun, and then I'm like, no, and then and then start something else? Is it one of those things where that person is starting something and before they get to the point where it can show success, they've switched gears already? Or does that make sense? Like
Yeah. Yes, that's part of it. I mean, well, okay, that happened in one instance, but in another instance, it was more like poor execution.
Okay.
Because you also need to know your role. If
Mhm.
you can be the person that has wonderful ideas, and maybe that's what you need to focus on. You implement that idea, you find a team. I mean, you find a team who can put that into action, and you keep it moving because you're the person with the ideas, not necessarily
Mhm.
the one to do the follow through, if that's not your strong suit.
Right,
So,
right.
that's why, so someone could come up with a good business idea, and then you can sell it to someone else. You make your money, and you next idea, and then you sell that. I'm saying, if that may be your strength more than you actually running that business, because
Right,
everything's not meant for everyone.
right.
That's
That's true.
that's a really
You
good way
gotta
to put
find
it.
That's
Yeah,
a
you got to
yeah.
find the right team and the systems. There's a whole series of books about that I took a mastermind with. So, like somebody that comes up with a good idea, but then don't like I'm making pies. I like making pies, but then all of a sudden I buy a pie shop or have a pie shop. Now I'm tired of making pies. I need somebody else to make pies. I need good systems in place for that.
Mhm.
Right.
So, and then I can sell it. But I think a lot of times one of the things you were saying, Kelly, was about like, am I doing too much? Do you put that label on yourself? Am I doing too much? And I I think that what I want us to think about is that as individuals, to CJ's point, we have the whatever it is that was put in us to do, we have to do. We just have to make sure that we are resting when we're supposed to rest and listening to our bodies and making sure that we can to to decide on when to focus, because I'll tell you there's a lot of things that I want to do, and if I see a class or a workshop that comes up that is in alignment with one of the things I want to do, even if I'm not focusing on it now, I will take the class and then I will put those notes and things aside so that when I can pick them up, all of those pieces are there, like so that you can, because I know you also want to do a lot of things. So like when those opportunities come up to take the classes or the workshops or whatever, okay, I'm going to do that. So I have that under my belt, that certification or whatever, so that when it's time for me to pick that up and run with it, I have those pieces there. But also I'm personally learning to, in my ambition, because I'm not going to say I'm overly ambitious, because I am just ambitious. I'm not going to put them but in my ambition, I have to make sure I'm listening to my mind and my body and going, okay, we're going to stop right here. We're going to take this break, or we're going to do whatever, so that I don't feel overwhelmed and I can keep going in the direction I want to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Johan.
No. I mean,
No,
nah.
go ahead.
I
Nah.
I think that's a good confirmation, right?
Mhm.
Where when you said, it's okay to maybe take this class of something that you want to do in the future. Like say me, like I'm learning about tequila now. That way, in the 15, 20 years, however long, like then like, I'll have that information. I'll be like, okay, like I have a good background. So yeah, that's good confirmation for me. It kind of like settles my nerves a little bit
Right.
And
for a lot
also,
of
whenever
people.
you want to go to Mexico for
You know
taste
what?
testing,
I'm gonna
I'm
let you
down.
know.
I'm
Yeah, I'm gonna
I
down.
let you know
knew
as
I
Like
knew
soon
you
as
was
it.
going there.
them flights are easy peasy. Let's go.
Hey, just real quick. So as the conversation is flowing, um, work ethic keeps popping up. Work ethic,
Mhm.
work ethic, work ethic. It's like blaring right now in my mind. And a lot of the times it's like sometimes, just like everyone is saying, everybody has all of these grandiose ideas. You start something, it's great in a moment, but your personal work ethic or your work ethic or lack thereof gets in the way. So is it that you just don't have the work ethic to execute, or you just are just lazy? Like where do you I guess, draw the line? Because we got to be real. We got to, keep it real to our followers, right? People who are watching. Is it that we're just lazy? We don't have the work ethic? Like, what is it that is going to move us? Because you can have ambition all day, every day. But if you don't have the energy, the effort, the work ethic to put behind it, it's just a dream. It's just an idea. It's just something that you thought was cool, right? So I guess I'm just, in my mind, work ethic is just one of those things. And an individual has to know themselves. You know if you're lazy or not. You know if you're willing to do the work, the dirty work. You know that about yourself. And if you know that about yourself, that's okay. But are you willing to make that change to strengthen your work ethic, to make it better so that you can actually execute? Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, it's definitely laziness. I'm just gonna say that. It can be laziness, it can be procrastination, like things
Okay.
that people struggle with or like are choosing to struggle with, right? Because I feel like, I mean, I'm learning to not make this choice anymore, but procrastination is a choice. Like you either do it or you don't do it. So it's like, yeah, like I like the fact that you brought up work ethic to it, because that, yeah, I could do it too. Like if you are putting your attention and your focus towards the right things, then I don't feel like, you can be, overly ambitious, or, you can't reach the goals that you want to reach. We just have to be focusing on it. You have to like have your value system there, written down, concrete, and like follow it. Make the decisions that are like aligning with that. Everything else, like you have to throw it out of the way. But like you have to be intentional about it. Because I can, write my values down and sit here for hours writing them down, and I'm following this for like a week and a half. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm like, well, let me just go back to old me and let me just, decide to do these other things. And it takes you off your track. It's so easy to go back and be, be where you're comfortable. So it's like you have to challenge yourself to be uncomfortable and continue to do uncomfortable things, like even though they're new.
You have to. I love what you were saying. You said what I heard in there was procrastination is a choice, as well, right? And so we got to get to this place where being irrational is okay, right? It's okay. And when another thing with procrastination will start to look like, well, do I have the entire plan, right? Do I have it planned out? I mean, Mike Tyson famously said, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right? So it's like, choose to do something, right? Just choose to do something. The internet is literally a web of stuff. It's not a straight line, right? Real estate, people get to a place where they're so paralyzed that they can't do anything in it because they think that it looks this way. It's like a straight line, but it's not. It's a web. Like it's so many different things. You can go in so many different places. And because of that, we start to get paralyzed by having to make decisions. So I think one good way to really get out of that type of stuff is to just make decisions, right? So I'm gonna be a man, and I apologize, but when the man comes home and he's like, "Hey, babe, what do you want to eat?" Normally says, I don't know.
Big facts.
It's a normal thing, right? I'm not saying that it always happens, but it's enough to say a generalization. But what I would venture to say is, for women, make the small decisions, right? For men too, right? Like decide what it is you're gonna wear. Don't have your girl pick out your clothes or something like that, right? Make decisions, because what procrastination really is, it's sort of like decision fatigue versus your work ethic, right? You've become so burning calories up here that you can't start to burn calories by actually doing work. You know what I mean? And I think the way that we can practice that muscle is to just make decisions, right? Make it intentional to make decisions. Somebody said a little bit earlier, Kyra, you said to delegate, right? Well, in order to delegate, you got to decide what needs to be done. In order to delegate, you got to be able to communicate what needs to be done, right? And so I think it's like taking charge and just making decisions. And then from there, yo, look, I'm 38. I got a family, wife, kids, and everything. So when I say being irrational, I'm not saying be irrational like like my 20-year-old self. But I am saying if you're in your 20s, be irrational. Go do it, right? Because your attention is going to be drawn and pulled in so many places. I would much rather you be irrational about building businesses or building your spirituality, building, doing whatever, right? These productive things. Be irrational with that, because all work works. It'll eventually be useful to you at some point or another, versus, you know, going and doing stuff that's going to pull your attention that has no purpose whatsoever. Be irrational with the things, because eventually something's going to fall through, right? That's what I had to say to that.
Makes
I
sense.
got a something. I I love the being intentional with decision making, because a lot of times when you said like it's that phrase of analysis paralysis, like I'm going and I'm learning so much about something I can't pull the trigger, for lack of a better phrase, immediately in my mind. But the other thing that I was thinking about, Kelly, is stop lying to yourself. And that's for all of us and everybody listening. And I'm going to use myself as an example, because I said I want to do X, I want to do Y, I want to do Z, and then I would not do anything as it related to that. So I realized I was lying to myself about something. Do I actually want to do it, and why? A lot of the coaches will say, find your why. And when you find your why, it will help you to, again, be intentional about your decisions. But I was like, well, I said I wanted to do this. And I'm having this conversation with Marcia. And Marcia said, well, Marcia, you wanted to do this. So if you wanted to do this, why are you not executing on this? Right. So stop lying to myself about why I want to do it, or if I want to do it. Because then the procrastination is like, if somebody else was lying to me, I would call them to the carpet. So why are you allowing yourself to lie to you about what you want to do? So that's just recently conversations I've been having with myself about why I'm not doing something, or why I might be procrastinating doing something. Or I will be sitting here watching this TV and I was like, girl, you said you was going to do this, and have to get up and do it, because I know I was lying to myself about whether I said I wanted to do it or not.
So how do you hold yourself accountable then? Because that to me sounds like you start in the area of personal accountability, because we know what the vision is, right? We know what the vision is. Okay, I said I want to do this. You made a decision. This is what I want to do, but you don't move,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how do you hold yourself accountable, or do you have anybody else in your world that holds you accountable in order for that to happen?
Well, God gave me y'all, so I'm gonna be, first of all, thankful for that.
True, true.
But also I found that Bible says write it down and make it plain. But also you have to say it out loud. So I have my list of things that I said I wanted to do. I have it posted in my house, and is actually on my bathroom door. So every time I go to the bathroom, I read it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just for me personally, it's not just enough for me to do it once or say it once a week. I have to say it daily. I have to remind myself daily. That's how I hold myself accountable, because this is what you said you was going to do. So you say it out loud. And the last thing on my list is I execute daily the things to get me towards my goal. So I know I have to do something to get me towards my goal. That's the last thing on my list. I do this, I am this, I am that, I am doing this, I am creating this. Every day I execute the task to get me closer to my goal. That's how I'm beginning to hold myself accountable.
My affirmation is every day I take bold steps towards the life that I want.
I like that.
And that's good. And if that works for you, but for me, I have to break it down smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am living a life that I don't need a vacation from. I am creating this. I am doing this. Because what does my life look like? Like who am I doing it for? What is my why? What am I doing? And how does it look like when it's done? That's how I have to.
And being specific, right? Just being as specific as possible. You know, that's like if I'm saying, okay, I want to meet 20 new people. So I'm being very specific about who I want to meet. I want to meet 20 new people. You know what I'm saying? However it comes, but just being super specific. And I think the more specific you are, our brain processes it so much different. It's not as vague because our brain doesn't understand vagueness, but it does understand specifics. And especially when you're choosing numbers and things of that nature, your mind just in the processing of how you are, you know, just how our brains are conceived is like it understands that. So yeah.
So I do have a question for that. Because our brain recognizes sounds, sense. Like if you want a Maserati, how does it? I test drove a Maserati because I want a Maserati and I want my brain to remember what it feels like and what it smelled like. And the fact that there was something in the windshield that had the directions is wild. Y'all need to drive one. But but the other thing that I struggle with, Johan, so maybe you, if in helping me, we can help our listeners. But I know that when I talk to God and I say I want certain things, I know He can. I try not to limit myself. I don't want $1 million because if I say I want $1 million, that's all I'm gonna get. So like, how I want to be a billionaire, right? Like I need the words to make sure there's not a limitation on what I
Well,
said.
that's funny. But I think you just kind of you kind of just you kind of just hit it. If you want to be a billionaire, you know, you want to speak it. Just like we talked about speaking stuff out loud. You don't want to put it in such a vague context, you know? Even if you say, you know what, I want to make $5 billion in my lifetime in order to, you know, make sure that there's self-defense classes in different areas, you know, however you want to categorize it, but make it specific. Because I feel like the more specific you are, it's like even if you're praying, you still need to pray for specificity. You know what I'm saying? You still need to be specific in what it is that you're asking for. You know what I'm saying? And as we say, we speak it out, you know, to the universe will provide, right? So it's like you got to speak it, but not just speak it. You got to do what? You got to do the action now. So
Right.
asking for anything, speaking it into existence is cool and all, but the other part, you know, that work, you know what I'm saying? That work has to be, I don't want to say the final piece, but pretty much the final piece in order for you to help get to that goal, whatever it is that you're desiring. So the action part, right? Be a verb. You know what I'm saying? So just be about that action. Be about that
That's a
life.
bar.
Say that again. Say that again.
That's a bar for real. Be a verb.
I, I've kind of programmed myself to not ask but claim, right?
Mm,
Because it's in his view, in his time, it's already done, right?
mm,
I'm just asking to be aware of it, right? Make me aware of what's already done, right? So you know, claim it versus. I mean, I don't know what your verbiage was, but when you said ask, you know, it's just something that I do. It's just like, you know, claim what's done, claim
right.
what's done, right? And so
Right.
that's I do a lot of kind of mental thing, you know, looking at Think and Grow Rich right here, right? What kind of books are you putting, what kind of things are you reading to help you maintain this mindset, right? Because you live it, right? And so like I remember when I was, as y'all were talking, it just really made me think, like when I got out of the Marine Corps and wanted to become a programmer, um, the longer I wanted to become a programmer, the longer I wanted to become a programmer. But the minute that I was just like, you know what, forget everything. I'm gonna try to sit here and I'm gonna try to build something, right? I'm gonna try to build something. I'm gonna try to build something. I'm gonna try to build something, and continuously doing that. And then I went and hung around. I would go to meetup groups with developers, right? I didn't know what the heck they were talking about, but I'd be around that. I was applying for jobs and I didn't even know how to read a line of code, right? And ended up getting a job as a junior developer, and I didn't even know how to code. Um, but I learned, right? Because I put myself in that environment. Now it's like, yo, you got to do what you got to do right now, because I had a 1-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was like so I was upgrading my life from I left the Marine Corps, and then I was just doing like, little odd and ends with computers, uh cleaning out the memory, changing your hard drives and all of that kind of stuff, making $20 an hour, right? Which is cool. But at the same time, it's not what I wanted, right? I knew I wanted more. I aspired for more. And I just decided. And I say that because what we were talking about was like, what are you putting in your head? What are you saying in your head? And I'm trying to think back then, it was just like, there was no, I hate to say it, but it was no affirmations at the time continuously, right? It was just like, no, I said that this is what I am and this is what I am, period. I don't care if I'm good at it or not, but this is what I am, and I'm just going to act that way every single day.
Mhm.
And eventually, as I look back, it's like, well, dang, yeah, I can't remember exactly what day I can honestly say that's what I was. Was that the first day, even though I didn't know what I was doing, or was that the today when I could code circles around anyone? I don't know what that day was, and so it's just like, I think, Marcia, you were saying like, if you really want it, um, I don't, I, like, what is your why and all that kind of stuff? Like, I'm not gonna sit up here and say that. I guess my why at the time was, look, you're letting go of the $20 an hour job, so that you can go to the 6 figure immediate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was just like, look, and I had gotten a job, right? I had went to the interview, they gave me the offer, because I got laid off from one of the jobs, $20 an hour, and then another one popped up, right after. And then it was just like, look, you could spend 10 hours a day doing this, making $20 an hour, or you could be a little bit more risky, a little bit more irrational, and
Hmm.
take a couple months and see if you can go and make this developer thing work. And it
Mm-hmm.
did, right? Like, it was just, but it was, once I decided, that was it. There was no questioning it anymore. Right. And I'm not, I wish I could sit up here and say that I would look into my 1-year-old son's eyes and be like, oh yeah, because of you, I'm gonna do this. Like, I wish I could say that, but that's not the way that it was, right? It was just like, do. It was just like, just do it. Just keep going, right?
Yeah,
Like, it wasn't anything else up here. All of that was done beforehand, and now just go. I didn't know what language I was going to learn or nothing. It just, where I was going to go was where I was going to go. I just knew I was going to code something.
Mhm.
So yeah, that just kind of, you when you were talking about that, like your why, like, I'm thinking about the goals that I have right now, and am I focusing on too much of the stuff, right, that's going
Mm-hmm.
on in my head, when it's like, that's the last place to be. In your head is the last place to be when you're trying to accomplish something. You need to be out and
Yeah.
about, getting your
Doing.
creativity, getting it out of you, so that
Mm-hmm.
you can see the fruits of it, right?
And that's
And
the whole
so, yeah, after
faith
the
without
work,
works is dead. So
Mhm.
that's what you're, that's what that
totally,
is.
totally,
And
right?
See,
so what advice do you have for people who maybe like do have these goals but aren't strong decision makers?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, do you want
Let's
Coke or
do
Pepsi, right? Do you want to, wear red or black? Do you want to just make little decisions that seemingly don't matter, but it's literally building that muscle up of being a strong decision maker. Case, we were talking about Mark Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg wears the same thing to work every single day. He
Oh,
got that.
so he doesn't have to think about it. Just
He
he
get it
got
got
that
done.
from Jobs.
he got that from Steve Jobs. The
Makes sense.
Okay.
reason why is because he doesn't want to waste his decision. There's a finite number of decisions you can make in a day
Mhm.
before you are completely just decision fatigue out. You ain't got no more in
I
you.
agree.
And so they're taking out some of the things in their lives to make decisions on, because they want to make the best decisions in those moments where it matters most. And so until we can kind of, get to that Mark Zuckerberg level or whatever you want to call it, for you, it's just like learn to decide, right? Make a decision and go. My mentor says, don't try to make the right decision. Make the decision and make it right. Right.
Yep.
That would be my.
One of the things I just try to live my life is I try to live my life with no regrets. So when I'm faced with a decision, I look at the decision as what would I regret more, not doing X or doing X. And then I'll do whichever one that I would regret more. I do the opposite of. So like that's that right on what CJ says, because you just got to make a decision. Like even if it's the wrong decision for the people listening, like even if it ends up down the road being the wrong decision, it's the process, the journey of learning as you got there, right? Because that's that failure thing, right? People are afraid of failure, but there's the journey of getting to the end of it, where it was successful, where it was not so successful, or it was a complete flop. But there was a journey there. And then you go, okay, well, I ain't doing that no more. Next time I'm gonna skip this step or whatever. But we gotta get to the point where we're just like, I'm gonna just do it. My daughter says to me all the time, you just be doing anything. No, not exactly. It's kind of calculated, but but I was like, I'm gonna go. She called me. She said, "Where you at?" I said, "I'm at the Maserati dealership." She said, "What you doing?" I said, "I'm test driving a Maserati because I want it." You just be doing anything because I said, "There's the method to your mama madness over here."
100%, 100%.
That put yourself in those situations, right? Like, what you're doing, you're trying to activate the RAS system, right? Where that's what you see. That's what your mind sees. And then eventually your brain is gonna find opportunities that will get you to that, right? That's what happens there. And so it's like, yeah, put yourself in that end state. Because somehow, some way, an opportunity is going to show it. It's going to show itself. It's not going to show up. It's going to show itself. It's already there. Right? If you believe that, like I believe in abundance, right? Prosperity is our birthright. It's here for us. All it is for us to kind of wake up and know that it's there, right? Because all of our life is the way we perceive it, right? Our perception of life is arguably 90% of how we experience it. So what books are y'all reading on this?
I mean, we've been talking about a lot. Can you narrow down what books?
I let me go get one of the books. It didn't cut. Oh, hold on.
We might need to start doing
one.
that, like having the
Getting
Rich.
The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. It's not
Okay.
what you think. Think and Grow Rich. Like I mean, a lot of people will kind of equate these things to, oh, you're talking about money. You're talking about money. I would argue, in order for you to get filthy, stinking rich, you got to do some serious spiritual development. Really do. That's what I'm saying. I mean, the Bible, right? The Bible teaches you some stuff. Go ahead. What books y'all reading?
There's a book that I'm reading. It's called True Wealth Starts in the Mind by Lisa M. Jones. And so I could go run and get the book and everything like that. But it's a great book, and it's not just like what CJ is talking about. It's not just about you need to do this, like methods and things like that. But it talks about mindset, talks about visualization, things of that nature. And so you talk about getting rich because everybody wants to be rich. You know what I'm saying? But what if you were already rich already? It's like we're rich in so many different ways, but it's like a lot of times we just want that that money wealth, that money rich. You know what I'm saying? But it's just so much more than just that. So yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I
And
think,
go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I just was going to say to Kelly's question, like the people who are listening, how do we help them? It's a mindset shift, right? It's a mindset shift. It's a change in the mindset. And whether it's you got to figure out what your why is, or just do it like Nike said, or make a list, like it's got to be a change in a person's mindset to say, I'm going to now do something I haven't done before because I want XYZ. So, and some of those books that CJ's reading, that Johan's is reading, are helpful to help a person change your mindset, because a lot of it, we wasn't all born like this. We weren't all born just, except for CJ, he looked like I was born like this, but
Reborn.
So
Reborn.
I'm glad you said that, CJ. I'm glad you said that, because so Marcia, to your point, and I hope I didn't stop your thought, but you sometimes, in order for you to have a mindset shift, you got to unlearn what you've already sort of learned already. So it's like, whether it comes from our parents, whether it comes from family, friends, whatever, sometimes you got to unlearn that and say, you know what, this is where I want to be. So I
right.
have to figure out, who do I need to become in order to get XYZ? So that's
Right.
even a question that you should ask yourself. Who do I need to become in order to get X goal? Because
Right.
who you are right now, chances are you're not that person. And that's okay. But that means it's just room for growth. That's all that means to me.
Yeah.
Right.
I I mean, it sounds so simple, but I mean, Kelly, it's right there. Read books, right? Read books, listen to the book, go on YouTube. What are you watching on TV? What are you doing while you're working out? I tell you, like I literally went completely what some people would say is just overboard, right? With everything. I wouldn't watch a movie unless it had the meaning in it that I knew I wanted to be around,
Mm.
right? Like it had to be entrepreneurship movies. Like for years, I'm not gonna say that I'm like that now or whatever, but especially when I was single, before I, really me and my wife really locked in and everything, me and a group of brothers, we literally like everything that you're reading, everything that you're talking about, everything that every place that you go, like you have to rebuke the stuff that doesn't align with what you're trying to literally program yourself to, because we were programmed, right?
Mm.
TV, what is it? The television broadcasting system, programming system, it's literally programming you. Like if you ever went to sleep thinking about something that you was watching on TV, you know, like that stuff becomes a part of you, right? Everything, just like food, whatever you're eating becomes what your body is going to look like. The same thing goes for what are you putting your attention into. And so I would say, look, be a monk for whatever it is that you want to do, right? So if it's you want to be a hairstylist, you need to make the picture on your phone a hairstylist. Case in point, I don't know if you can see it, but my backdrop is my freaking vision board. Every time I look at my phone, I'm looking at my visions, right? And I put on here years ago being a speaker and this and that, and I forgot about it. But here it is. I'm subconsciously. That's when you really don't even recognize it anymore, is when it's really starting to work, right?
Mhm.
And then so I would go to sleep with my Bose headphones on. I'm just putting stuff in my head. I mean, I'm t- I'm I'm talking some weird stuff, but I'm so serious. Do that for 30 days. Do it for 30 days where you don't consume nothing. You don't have no conversations outside of alignment with where it is that you want to go, and tell me your life don't change.
Agree. Bro, what you just said is, like, as they say, it's a whole word right there. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, it's like you gotta, for lack of a better phrase, brainwash yourself for your own success. Like if that's the path you want to be on, like you really got to put yourself. When we talk about alignment, the people you're around, like you said, the things you're listening to, and even just how you taking care of yourself, like this whole self-care routine. Like, what are you doing for yourself? Just like Marcia, I want to say that you said you got to listen to your body, right? So make sure that you're not, I don't want to be so tired that I can't even enjoy, the fruits of my labor. So
Right.
reprogram yourself, brainwash yourself into saying, I am a successful person, whether it be through affirmations, whether it be through reading books, whether it be through just the group of people you're around, but just raise your level of everything. Just raise your level, raise your standard. If it is what it is today, there's always levels to this thing, right? Even here, it's just like, and I think I might have said this the other day, like, yo, it's this standards here. And when people are talking about certain things that they're accomplishing, it's okay for you to be like, okay, I need to step my game up. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to want more. Like, it really is okay to want more. And CJ, to your point, decide that you want more, put the energy, effort, faith, but the work behind it. You know what I'm saying? And you go after it. That's how I'm seeing it.
I heard this one thing. I haven't done it, but someone will record themselves reading all their affirmations over and over, and then that'll be the thing that they play at nighttime or while they're in the gym, and it's your voice saying your affirmations over and over and over. So I mean, it's weird stuff. I will buy books. I will buy the physical copy of the book and the audio book so that I can be listening and reading at the same time, because I'm beating it in my head. So
Mhm.
you gotta, how bad do you want it?
Yeah. Yeah, that is a good way to prepare for anything, whatever it is that you want to put in you, is to consume yourself with that. So, I mean,
Relate that to music.
yeah,
'Cause-
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's how I learn a new song. I mean,
Whoa.
I'm practicing right now for this event in a week or so, and so while I'm in the kitchen cooking, it's playing in my ear, and maybe for 2 hours I'm just listening. It's on repeat. I'm not singing it. I'm just listening so I can, get those words in my system, get the rhythms and everything, so that when I play that track or just the instrumental, I know exactly where I'm going. So that is how I learn a new song oftentimes.
Dive into that a little bit more. Hold on. Like, just tell me, like, you've done this for years. Like, identify steps in the process. Like, what does it feel like in the beginning? And then is there a click in or what? Like, what's the process of it?
Yeah, I mean, so if I could just have stumbled on something, or my vocal coach may recommend a song. So I'm just listening, just to introduce it to myself. And then it's very helpful if it's something that I can connect with. If it's it depends on the type of piece. If it's something operatic, then okay, I may not have an actual connection. I'm in that case, I'm learning the story. This song, what's happening at this moment when the person, what are they talking about? So that I can find something to relate to. If it's because I have to get into character when I
Mhm.
perform. So I need to be able to, if it's a piece about someone that died or whatever, then okay, then I'm connecting to that, so I can understand what was happening, what they were feeling, so I can show that expression on my face, and I can produce that in my voice to the audience. So yeah, so I may listen to something over and over again, and then I'm concentrating on the lyrics to make sure that I know all the words, and that I can again relate to what it is that I'm saying. If it's different rhythms, I may, initially I may count it out until I can feel it. Because at first I'm just learning it. And so, but then after a while, I don't have to count anymore, because I feel it, because I've really let it sink in.
That's so cool.
That's so
You
deep
put
on
a
so
whole
many
nother
different
level
levels.
onto that. Yes.
Word. Yeah,
Like,
right? That's a
wow.
fact. Wow.
How powerful what you just said is. You even said that even for the thing, it's easy, it's easier when it's something that you can't connect with. But you can do this even with something that you don't connect with,
Mhm.
just because you want to,
Right.
right? Like that. I mean, everything that you just said was so freaking, write a book. It was so powerful. Write a song about that. Like that was
Okay,
so
okay.
freaking powerful about how it just, you let it become a part of you, right? Or you become a part of it. And now it just, you allow this thing to create within you, and now you could regurgitate it or be it on command at any point in time. Look, that
That is a skill. I'm so impressed.
Exactly, right?
if we
Um,
applied that to any and everything that we do.
Mm.
What could we
Submerge yourself
what
in
could
your
we
work.
accomplish? Right?
right.
What could we accomplish? Is that being overly ambitious, Kyra?
Not at all.
That's just being you. That's
Yeah.
just
That's the
being
method.
you.
Mhm.
Yo, I, that was so powerful right there. I ain't got nothing more to say.
That's a fact.
Right.
That's a fact.
Wow.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna prioritize learning to play the piano just because you said what you said. We'll get into this music thing. I might not be able to sing, so that's why I said the piano.
Okay.
Oh,
Wow. That's deep. And I love how we just brought it back to being, overly ambitious, because even what you just said, Kyra, is something like that's the method to the madness, if you will. That's the method that one must take in order to truly, truly be great at what it is that they do. So no, it's not overly ambitious. We need ambition, though. I found this quote, and it says, "We need people who dream impossible things, who maybe fail, sometimes succeed, but in any case, who have that ambition." Right? So we need people with that ambition. Kyra, we need you to have that ambition when it comes to your singing and your music.
Right.
We need that. And for everybody on here, we need to have that ambition in our individual and personal goals, family goals, business goals, et cetera, et cetera. We pretty much, and I love the Mamba mentality. That wasn't overly ambitious. That was somebody who was dedicated to their craft, dedicated to getting better, 1% better each day, I love to say. So not overly ambitious, ambitious enough.
Ooh, ambitious enough. Yes.
Put that on the shirt. We got to make some
Yeah.
shirts.
I
Wow.
love
That
it.
was good.
Definitely.
that's
Does
cool.
anybody want to go ahead, CJ? I know you had something to say.
No. I was. Go ahead. Go ahead. I think I was going where you were going, man. If
Oh,
did y'all have anything else to add or what?
pretty much, yeah.
I would just ask if those books we're gonna drop them down in the chat for those folks that want to read what y'all are reading and catch up and start, changing that set and mind shift. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would even say continue tuning in. Continue tuning in here where your mindset is definitely going to be shifted. It's going to be transformed. And you're just going to see yourself in a better light. Because I could say for me personally, even, connecting with you all, it's the transformation that's for me. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like continue to put yourself around great people, what I'm
That's
saying,
right.
who are pushing you to be at your best. And you rise to the occasion and reciprocate. That's what I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll drop some links to the books that I mentioned too. And one other one is, it's called the Laws of Thinking. Oh man,
Mm,
Bishop Michael Jordan. Ah, his last name is Jordan, but that thing is crazy, boy. But look, I hope those folks have gotten the advice that they needed. I hope that you have come to your own conclusion on what being overly ambitious is in these other people's world, because it ain't in ours, right? Because we are us, right? And if we desire it, we're not gonna sit and desire, we're just gonna go get it, right? So I hope that you learned how to decide, make decisions from this. And I hope that you have learned to just shut out all the rest of the noise and go and freaking get it. Look, this is the Gens, our authentic selves, and we just became ambitious enough. So y'all be great.
Peace, peace.
Bye.